Hi, and thank you for joining me on another episode of the Tech Exec Podcast, where I'll help you create teams worth leading, because life's too short to lead mediocre teams. As always, I'm your host, Aviv Ben-Yosef, Tech Exec Coach and Consultant, and our subject today is Excuse Rapid Fire. If there's something that most leaders do amazingly well, they don't even need to break a sweat. They do it immediately. The second you just tell them something, they just shoot it at you without even having to think about it instinctively. And what is that? Making excuses. It's amazing that, in a blink of an eye, you just tell them something and immediately our minds start working and we immediately find all the reasons why something cannot be done. And in my mind, I'm calling this rapid fire because that's what I feel. And I recently talked to a couple of CTOs doing onboarding, and I asked them, tell me, you're describing this situation, that situation. Why is it like that? What you're doing? Why didn't you do this and that before? Why haven't you tried that thing, etc.? And you know what I'm hearing? Immediately a bunch of excuses. And I always say that to me, it feels a bit like watching The Matrix. And you remember, if you ever watched it, I know it's an old person's movie by now. If you've ever watched The Matrix, in the first film, Neo has this scene where they shoot bullets at him and he does like the bullet time and, he avoids all the bullets. The same goes with asks and requests from CTOs and how easily they avoid it with excuses. Why'd you do that? Impossible. Why'd you do that? That person was on vacation. Why'd you do that? The AWS bill. We always have all of those excuses at the ready. We don't even need to think about it. Boom, boom, boom. Shoot down every request. That's not possible. We can't do that. We need more money. We need more time. And I get that sometimes. Yeah, you need to explain why something cannot be done. It's not really an excuse. It's just an explanation. However, what if you would use that same instinctive, quick thinking and only turn it a bit from finding reasons why something cannot be done to trying to immediately, instinctively find reasons why we can do something? Just run at it. Let's find a way to get it done, and just have that happen. And I think that if you just change your mindset a bit, you'd find that so many times you can do just that. You can find a way to get something done almost immediately. When we start from the assumption that something is possible, when we flip it around like that, then our minds just find a way. Yeah, of course, this is not magic. I'm not saying you'll immediately find a way to, get acquired for $1 billion next week if you decide that's a possibility. Okay, yeah, of course. I'm not just saying, this is not, like those books and movies, the journal or something. I'm not saying you can manifest anything into being. What I'm saying is that I've seen it repeatedly happen for people when it comes to creative thinking, when it comes to constraints. Your starting point makes such a huge difference. If you start with the assumptions or with the beliefs or with the hypotheses that things are hard, whatever you're being asked to do is almost always impossible, requires more time, and is an issue, whatever, then you will automatically reach out for those excuses, for those explanations, and you'll wholeheartedly believe them. And people will believe you because you're the pro, right? You're the professional in the room. You understand the tech. They count on you. However, if you just have this suspension of disbelief, if you teach yourself to start by assuming there's a possibility, not everything you're being asked to do will be possible, not everything will be possible to do in its entirety as being asked in that time frame, etc. But if you try to start from the assumption of we're going to get it done, now what would that take to make that happen? You're going to find different ways of doing things. You're going to find that you're able to push things forward so much more often than not. And why not give it a go? What do you got to lose? Are you afraid of finding solutions? Are you afraid of having more work because all of a sudden you found a way to try to get to something? Are you afraid that it's going to be hard because it's a stretch goal? I get that. We all like succeeding, but if you're only always doing the things that are guaranteed to succeed, I can promise you that the only success you'll have is a mediocre one, because you'll never try anything that puts you at a bit of a risk. And, no risk, no gain, especially if we're in the startup game. You have to understand that whenever you just have this knee-jerk reaction automatically, nope, sorry, nope, can't do, you're essentially cocooning. You're like the turtle pulling your head inside your shell, rather than trying to stick your head out, look around, try to find a possibility, see if you can spot any path to start going forward, even if the path is, not a perfectly smooth one. It requires you to watch your step. Maybe you'll get your shoes wet a bit, but you're gonna get where you want to get, rather than be making excuses about the weather, about the strikes in the metro today. That's what I've got on my mind, being here in Rome, etc. No. Rather than doing that, try to find a way of getting things done. Start with that assumption and have that same thing drilled down to your people, to your team. That's what senior people do. They're used to telling you from their high pedestal why everything is impossible, why everything's a bad idea, how we can shoot down everything with all the technicalities that we can think of. Yeah, that's the easy part. That's the easy way out. If you want to be an extraordinary professional, if you want to create extraordinary results, if you want to create a dent on the company, I'm not saying the universe, but on your career, you want to do something remarkable. If you want to do that, you have to knock it out with the automatic excuses and start shifting your thinking to a thinking of how can it be done. I'm assuming it's possible. I'm assuming we can do this. And now we'll work our way backwards and find a way to do something, to get that first milestone, to have some sort of a win. And only after having exhausted those paths will we put our hands up. Only then. We don't start with the assumption of it's impossible, and only if somehow someone convinces us otherwise we'll go for it. No, let's start with the suspension of disbelief. Let's start thinking this is a done deal already. We just haven't found the path yet. Who was it? Michelangelo or Donatello, whatever, or Raphael, who said, you start with the chunk of marble and you start carving it till you find the piece of art inside. Yeah, you need to do the same. Even if you don't see yourself as a Renaissance artist, you need to start with the assumption of we can get it done. The solution is already there. We just need to uncover it. We just need to find a way. It requires some effort. It's a challenge, yeah, but that's our job, to find a way to get that done. All right, so I'm hoping I managed to at least partly get you out of that excuse rapid fire mode. It might feel comfortable, it might feel easiest, but it's a surefire way to get to nowhere. Think about that. That's it for this week. Thank you for joining me. If you have any questions or comments, as always, my info is in the show description. And if you haven't yet, do check out my newsletter. It's the best newsletter online for tech execs, with this podcast, an article, and a video every week, give or take. The link and all the details are in the show notes. I'll see you here next week. Ciao.